I can have your attention here in the Media Center, we're going to continue on with today's media availability with Joey Logano, driver of the number 22 Pennzoil Ford for Team Penske. If you've got a question for Joey, raise your hand. We'll get a wireless mic to you. We're going to start here with Holly and work up.
Holly Kane, the NASCAR Wire Service. I have an easy question for you. Why is Team Penske so good at Las Vegas?
Well, that's a hard question to answer. It might be an easy question for you, but I think there's a few things, but I do think this track kind of fits into our wheelhouse. It fits into, I think, Ford's wheelhouse as far as the engines and the Roush Yates program. I think is maybe our strengths are here. I think we've been able to do a good job at finding that balance to get over the bumps in 1 and 2, yet still have grip around the rest of the racetrack. It's never perfect, right? You're never as good as you want, but it seems like we've been able to put together a pretty good package here at this racetrack. But I do think every time you come here, especially this race, is going to be much different than it was in the spring, considering it was one of the first mile-and-a-half type races, this 550 package, and the sport, the whole industry's really evolved a lot from what was here in, what was it, March or so, early March, I think, or wasn't it, to now. We've really, I don't know if we've figured out what we need to win, but we've gotten closer to figuring it out, and the whole field has kind of done that together. So I think a lot of things have changed over that period of time.
Go next to David, then to Kathy.
David Swope, ESPN Radio, Albuquerque. Joey, you came in last year, and it was kind of the big three and you, and it ended up very well for you. This year, you come in, and it seems to be you have better stats, you're starting in the 5th position, but yet at the same time, you seem to be kind of an afterthought. Do you play into that? I mean, you're always out front, but I mean, does it benefit you to kind of not have the spotlight on you quite as much as it seems like Toyota does right now?
I really don't care. If you want me to be honest, I don't really care where I stack up in everyone's mind. The most important piece is believing in yourself and in your race team. And I think that's what we proved last year. I said last year that I felt like we were the favorites, and I think everyone's jaw probably dropped and said, what's this kid thinking? He ain't even close to being the favorite. But in our minds, we were. And that's what mattered the most, because when we showed up down there, we had the confidence, we felt prepared, and we executed our plan to win the race. I think this year is no different. For us, it doesn't really make a difference on who's the favorite, who's the underdog, who's the dark horse, or whatever. It all matters about what you think about yourself and having that confidence in what your team can do.
Kathy?
Kathy Brown, pitting outside the box. Now, looking at the spring race versus Sunday's race and it going from day into night, is there anything that you're going to have to do differently as a driver or as far as setting your car up to make that translation from day into night?
Yeah, I think the sun will still be kind of up at the end of the race, but it should be cooling off, which would be great for everybody, especially the people sitting in these grandstands. That'll be really nice. It would be nice for me, too, inside the car. But, there will be a little bit of that. As the track cools off, some grip will come back to us. The balance of the car will change a little bit. We just got to be ready to adjust to that, and it definitely does present another challenge. But, already got a challenge, as far as this, even today in practice, of what the practice conditions are compared to the race are going to be quite a bit different as the track rubbers up over the weekend after the truck race. What it's going to be like, just as more rubber lays down, as the wind changes, as the sun's up or down. We kind of go off a little bit of past history on how those have affected us and try to make the smartest adjustments as we know how to. With that being said, it's tough. There's no track bar adjuster like we had last year. So all those things make it a little bit stronger or a little bit harder to overcome.
Additional questions for Joey Logano? Go to Nate.
Nate Ryan, NBC Sports. Joey, Kyle Busch was talking yesterday about that younger drivers these days benefit from the SMT data that's available, and that the learning curve just seems rapidly accelerated. And he was kind of frustrated by that everybody has access to, as he put it, like free information. Does that bother you at all that you didn't have that when you were coming into NASCAR, and now people can see your trade secrets, I suppose, in some ways?
Okay. I mean, it's the same for everyone. I guess I can learn just as much. You know, maybe it's easier for them to get the basics and stuff like that figured out. But I mean, I feel like I don't have it figured out. He might have everything figured out. I sure don't. So I can still use it and get better. So it doesn't bother you that you keep I mean, you don't want people to see exactly what you're doing, but I don't know. Some people are looking at me. I'm looking at them. So it goes back and forth, and you know, it's a tool. It's a resource. It's something that, you know, it's not gospel. It's not exactly what, you know, is the truth all the way through it. But there's things that you can learn throughout it if you just take it with a grain of salt. Seems like. So, I mean, I'm okay. I mean, I can go either way with it. You know, does it help the rookies come up a little bit quicker? Probably does. It's very challenging to get into the sport still, and it's still very challenging to be the best of the best in the sport because of the experience they have. A lot of times you can read as much as you want, but until you actually do it in real life, it's a lot different, right? And you have that life experience, it changes it quite a bit. So, yeah, it may help a little bit, but I don't think it's everything.
Additional questions for Joey? We have, Mark.
Mark Garrow, PRN. Joey, as you've made your way throughout this year as the champion, does anything stand out from the many, many experiences that you've had in representing the sport as the champion? Did anything jump out or seem really special to you?
Obviously, there's plenty of very special moments, and you know, I think none of them can top the feeling of just crossing the start-finish line and seeing, you know, your team and your family. Like there's no better feeling than that. That's the best, that you accomplish something together. Like that feeling is, I can't describe very well, but it's unbelievable. But a lot of the cool things that come along with it are still neat. I mean, you get to go to the White House, meet the president. That was really cool. You know, I thought one of the coolest things for me, I'm a race fan first, right? So I thought going to, you know, the Hall of Fame voting panel and being on that and listening to all these legends in there, from media members to, you know, race car drivers, the crew chiefs, owners, like everyone in our sport, right? That was really, really cool to me to be able to listen to everybody and try to put my 2 cents in. If I didn't really belong, but I tried. I had a lot of fun with that, though. That was, to me, one of the coolest things that I really didn't expect or really even knew would happen until we won the championship. So that one stood out. But, yeah, that stuff's neat, but it ends pretty quick at the same time, you know, because you're still in the grind. You know, you're still trying to win another championship. So it's fun, and it's important for me to enjoy that because you work so hard for it. You should enjoy what you've accomplished, but also keep the eye on the prize, right? Keep looking forward to the next one.
Come back to Holly.
Holly Kane, the NASCAR Wire Service again. That actually plays exactly into what I was going to ask you. Could you talk about the significance that it would feel to be the first back-to-back championship winner, you know, since Jimmie Johnson did it, and frankly, the only other guy other than Jimmie in the field to have won 2 championships? I mean, you really stand to be in a position to do something very, you know, noteworthy. Yeah,
it's kind of, I mean, it's cool to think. You know, I guess I never really thought of it that way.
It's so difficult, do you think? Why do you think it really hasn't been done?
Because everyone's really good. I tell you, these guys are good. They're hard to beat. And you know, there's not many teams that are just one step better than everyone all the time. And the way this playoff system goes, you have to be good, you know, throughout these races. You can't, when it was 10 races, you most time had a mulligan. You have one race that you can, you know, maybe afford to lose. Or have a bad one crash, blow up, or whatever. Here, you know, and you had 9 races to overcome it, basically. Now, you can have a bad race, and you have to overcome that in 2 races, you know, to get through to the next round. You either have to win or you have to have 2 very, very good runs to make that up. So I think it's very hard to get to that championship 4. And then, you know, it's all or nothing when you get there, you know. So I think it's I don't want to say it's harder. It's just very different than what it used to be, and I think that's what's just made it more spread out through the field on who the real favorites are and who, you know, is able to really get this whole thing under their grasp. But it does seem like that championship 4 does seem to be come down to a lot of the same cars a lot of times, with, you know, a couple in and out occasionally. But I think it's easy to tell which teams really are the ones that stand out, but I don't think it's one that's just got this whole thing figured out where they win every year.
Go next to Dustin.
Dustin Long, NBC Sports. How have the playoffs challenged you mentally, and how have you, I guess, survived or not come out of it crazy? I mean, obviously you made it to the Final Four.
I'm still
The
kind of
last two-
crazy.
I mean, you've obviously made it to the Final Four the last 2 times you've been in the playoffs. You had a year you missed. You've had some other controversy in the playoffs. I mean, there's so much that I guess could be swirling around in your head at various times in these playoffs, and you hear what kind of a grind. How have you, like I said, not gone crazy or survived it where you've not imploded?
Perspective is what changes that. It's just keeping in mind what we're doing and enjoying it. I think that's probably the biggest thing is I work very hard at this, but I absolutely love it. Like I really love my job. I got the greatest job in the world, and I realize that. I can't say that the same for the whole garage, that everyone really enjoys this as much as I probably do, which I guess gives me a little perspective on just how fortunate I am and lucky I am. And I think in other cases too is, I think our foundation helps a lot for me in that way. It's not the reason why we started it, but it seems that it's kind of played that way for me. A bad day at the racetrack, even as hard as it is, a lot of people are having a lot harder time just to make ends meet. So I guess I keep that perspective in mind, and that keeps me sane and helps me enjoy this even more.
Kathy?
No, it's because it's crossed.
Kathy Brown, Pity Outside the Box. Just kind of to go back on the question with the younger drivers looking at the dartfish and all the information that they can get from you, it really doesn't give them the information that I think this year is the most important, and that's restarts. It seems that's where a lot of the passing is going on during the restarts. Do you go back and look at footage maybe from other tracks or previous weeks to kind of get a gauge on the restarts, so when you're racing around particular drivers, you can maybe see where they're accelerating, where they tend to go, to kind of use that as an advantage for yourself?
Yep, sure do. Okay. It's just doing my job, right? And that's what you sign up to do. That's part of the gig. Our sport, you don't have time to think things through. You have to react. And if you're going to react in the right way, you have to prepare. And so that's where that prep work and preparation is what you have to lean on, because if you hesitate, you're done. You get beat. You're getting passed. You got to be the one that's moving forward, making the moves. And to make the right moves, you have to kind of have an idea of where everything's going to go and what's going to happen after you make the move. And the only way you know is either one, living through it, or two, really having your head wrapped around the situation of what's happened there before. So, which has been a fun experience this year, because bringing it back to when we came here the first time, I talked about how the cars are going to evolve, but the drivers have evolved a ton too on how restarts work and what lanes move the best and all that. I can guarantee you I'm not the only one studying. There's the whole field is, and I can see it. What has worked in the past at times, man, this is a good move, I'm going to try that again. I've seen it not work again. So because of everyone evolving and playing their cards in a different way. So that to me has been one of the most fun things this year, is seeing that, because it used to be more black and white on what to do on restarts, and now it seems to you kind of throw a little bit of the things that you used to take for granted out, because the moves have changed so much with the amount of throttle time that we carry and the handling and what the draft does.
Any additional questions for Joey? Well, Champ, thanks for joining us, and good luck this weekend.
Cool. Thanks, guys.